Good evening. Welcome to Kent County Levy Court. This is a business meeting. We're meeting at 555 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware. This is Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022, in Levy Court Chambers, room 203. Before we officially come to order, I'll turn the microphone over to the county administrator to explain WebEx and how to call in on the phone.
Thank you, Mr. President. This meeting is being offered via the internet using the WebEx platform. And for guests who may be joining us via WebEx, just a few basic instructions. And we'll repeat these instructions throughout the course of the meeting when there's opportunity for public comment, either during public hearing or at other points along the meeting. If you are using a mobile phone via WebEx, *3 will raise an electronic hand and we'll be able to recognize you and then bring you into the meeting room. If you're at your computer, there's a raise hand icon that you can select, and that will also let us know that you're interested in making a comment at that time. If you're making comment during the public hearing portion of the meeting, you will be sworn in. You'll need to state your name and address for the record, and the county attorney will swear you in before proceeding. Same procedure for those guests who are present here at 555 Bay Road. As an official business meeting of the Levy Court, we're following the Mason's Rules of Order as well as the adopted rules of procedure for Levy Court business meetings. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll officially bring the meeting to order, and I'll ask Ms. Tanaka, or excuse me, I'll have Commissioner Howell do the invocation, Commissioner Maston do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Commissioner Sweeney to lead us in a moment of silence for troops and first responders. All rise, please.
Heavenly Father, thank you for being here in our midst tonight, and we just ask your guidance in all of our proceedings. We pray especially for former President Banta. Pray that he'll heal from his injury recently, and you just put him in your hands. And also, we have to mention the growing unrest in the Far East and in Eastern Europe, and we just pray for peace, that things would be resolved. But in the meantime, we just ask you to guide our decisions tonight, and that they'll be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our military, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, and other first responders who have lost their lives in the line of duty, protecting and fighting for our freedoms. We also honor all first responders and medical staff who have succumbed to COVID-19 virus complications contracted through close interaction with infected patients, losing their lives caring for others. As of today, more than 936,000 Americans, more than 2,700 in Delaware, and nearly 600 in Kent County have lost their lives to COVID. Please remember all of these individuals who died in the line of duty, as well as keeping their families in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with the loss of their loved ones. Officer James McWhorter from the Office of Agricultural Law Enforcement in Florida. Police Officer Nicholas Vela from the Huntington Beach Police Department in California. K-9 Nitro from the York County Sheriff's Department in Nebraska. K-9 Maya from the West Jordan Police Department in Utah. Fire Chief James Radford from the Polly Watson Volunteer Fire Department, North Carolina. Firefighter Steve McCann from the Los Angeles County Fire Department, California. Battalion Chief Mark Holt from the Thomasville Fire and Rescue in North Carolina. Firefighter Jesse Gerhardt from the Fire Department of New York. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sweeney. At this time, I'll now ask Ms. Tanaka to take a roll call to determine quorum, please.
Mr. Angel?
Present.
Mr. Buxton?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Present.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Mrs. Maston?
Present.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
Mr. Pepper?
Here.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Need a motion on the adoption of this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner House, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Unless there's any questions, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. This evening's agenda has been adopted. Need a motion on consent agenda 22-03.
Move to approve consent agenda 2203, Mr. President.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Maston to approve consent agenda 22-03. Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Consent agenda 2203 has been approved for this evening. And now we move on to presentations. The first one is Employee of the Month for March. Tanaka, can we have that read, please?
Kent County Department heads have selected Amy King Waller from the Finance Department as the March 2022 Employee of the Month. Amy currently serves as a tax clerk 2 in the tax office and started her Kent County career as an accountant 1 in October 2016. She worked for the state of Delaware Family Court as an accounting specialist for over 10 years. Her primary duties include performing advanced clerical accounting work related to the billing and collection of taxes, sewer, and other fees. According to Finance Director Susan Durham, Amy provides excellent customer service. Her ability to listen, research, and understand the taxpayer's concern has generated numerous compliments over the years. She is a team player and very detail-oriented, so when an adjustment has to be made, the documentation is clear. Amy is also responsible for coordinating the Senior Tax Credit Program and has developed a great rapport with many of the senior citizens that participate, as well as those not yet eligible. She is very much deserving of this recognition as Employee of the Month. Congratulations, Amy, on a job well done, and she resides in Commissioner Howell's and Commissioner Pepper's district.
Thank you. Is Amy here tonight? Come on down. Ms. Durham, you can come down too. And we'll go out front and wish Amy well. Thank you. Very nice job. I'm sorry. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, Amy, congratulations. I mean, you must be highly regarded with your peers and your boss. And it's great to have you here tonight for the Employee of the Month. That's quite a bit, about 300 employees in the county, and here you are. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, and in December, maybe you might be one of the employees that get that check for $500 from us. So be a good, nice Christmas gift. But thank you very much, Amy.
Congratulations, Amy, on a job well done. Please keep it up.
Yes, I echo those thoughts. Thank you very much for all that you do for the county, and keep it up. Congratulations.
Amy, congratulations. Just the fact that you deal with 80,000 citizens out there that all have tax problems, especially the senior citizens. That's a great job, and for the county to recognize you for that, thank you for what you do.
Yeah, that's a tough job. Appreciate you doing it. Obviously, you do it very well. Congratulations.
I agree with that. Are you good with numbers? I kind of figured. Where did I get that idea? I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm glad because we need more people like you, and we're glad you're here. All right.
My turn? All right. Congratulations, Amy. Customer service is where it's at, and you're doing a great job at it, being recognized for it. And we really appreciate the effort that you do. Like Commissioner Sweeney said, you deal with all sorts of people coming in, but you're very consistent. You treat everyone the same, and you just, exemplify great customer service. So thank you very much for being a great representative of the county, and I want to say congratulations.
And Amy, we have the certificate here to present to you. It says, on this, the 22nd day of February 2022, the Levy Court of Kent County, State of Delaware, does hereby recognize Amy King Waller, Tax Clerk 2, Department of Finance Tax Office, for her exceptional initiative, dedication, and conscientiousness in the delivery of services to the citizenry of the county. And it's signed by all the commissioners and the county administrator, Mike Pettitomage. So I'd like to present this to you, and this puts it in writing and proves that you are the county Employee of the Month. So, and your boss over there, I know she wants to say a few words too. So, Susan.
Thank you. No, Amy is a great choice. She's really does exemplify customer service. I've never even seen her mad yet. Haven't even seen her raise her voice. She's angelic. She tolerates me, right, Amy? But you are very much appreciated, and Kent County is very, very lucky to have you. And you just really, truly stand for everything that a good employee would stand for. So thank you so much.
I was just saying thank you for the kind words. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. The next item on this evening's agenda is Resolution 3917, Retirement of Susan Wilson. And Laura, can you read that for us, please?
Whereas the retirement of Susan K. Wilson, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from her duties as Assessment Supervisor, Assessment Office, Department of Finance Division, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Susan K. Wilson as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Susan K. Wilson for the able and loyal manner in which she performed her public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be her evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the February 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Thank you. Need a motion on Resolution 3917.
Move to approve, Mr. President.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney to approve Resolution 3917. Is Susan here tonight? She's not. Okay. Well, we'll present this to her later date, but we'll take a roll call on the resolution.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall? Yes. Mr. Howell? Yes. Mrs. Maston? Yes. Mr. Sweeney? Yes. Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Resolution 3917 has been approved, and Susan can retire. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 3918, retirement of Peggy K. Ivory. Can we have that read into the record? And I believe she's here.
Whereas the retirement of Peggy K. Ivory, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from her duties as Deed Clerk 1, Recorder of Deeds Office, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Peggy K. Ivory as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Peggy K. Ivory for the able and loyal manner in which she performed her public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be her evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the February 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Thank you. Need a motion on Resolution 3918?
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Angel. Can we have roll call on that motion, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton? Yes. Mr. Hall? Yes. Mr. Howell? Yes. Mrs. Maston? Yes. Mr. Sweeney? Yes. Mr. Pepper?
I don't know. I hate to see her go. So maybe I'll reserve my vote. But no, I think she deserves it. So we'll let her retire if she comes on down.
Okay. Mr. President, I believe roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Well, I guess it's official. Resolution 3918 has been passed, and Peggy, we're going to let you retire. Gee, we're going to let you retire. You're ready. Oh, boy. Well, Peggy, we want to wish you the best of luck. We hate for all this experience to be leaving us. And, you've been a great employee. And everybody's going to miss you. So take care of yourself and, do that bucket list. So, Mr. Angel.
And more importantly, if we need you, will you come back and help us again? Well, retirement is for a purpose, I understand, but thank you for your service.
Peggy, congratulations on a great career, and I'm sure I'll see you around. You take care and enjoy.
Thank you.
Congrats. It's a good gig, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
I'm sure I will.
You've earned it.
Pay as well.
Hey, I find that in retirement, the hardest thing to do is to find something to keep yourself busy. So I hope you have plenty of things to do on your list. I'm cleaning places in my house I didn't even know we had. So good luck and congratulations.
Yep, congratulations on service to the county. Appreciate it.
I agree. Hope you have a good, long, healthy life and enjoy yourself.
Peggy, you were hired by Harold Brode. He appointed you to a position in the Register of Wills office. Now, your sister works in the assessment office. She's worked here for a long time, and when Harold introduced me to you, you remember, he said, Peggy is every bit as good as her sister up in the assessment office, guaranteed. I said, hold on, Brody, let her prove it. Let her prove herself. And you did. So congratulations on retirement. We're going to miss you, and wish you all the best. Have a great one.
And your former boss is here. Would you like to come forward? She's retired now. She's got paper. Oh, she almost has the papers about 10 feet away from her.
I guess I can stand right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations, Peggy, on your retirement. Peggy applied for and I accepted her application. I believe it was in late December of 2018. Peggy was a good fit in the Office of Recorder of Deeds, as she had handled many of the similar documents and in her position at the Register of Wills. Peggy has worked with us now for approximately 4 years, maybe a little over 4, and we will miss her dearly. She has been a dedicated employee. Speaking for myself and for the rest of my staff, we wish her the best in retirement. Congratulations.
And Peggy?
Come back here. No, I come back here. I just want to thank everyone. I've had 8 good years here with the Levy Court family, and I just want to thank everyone. Someone asked me the other day how many years I've had working, so I was adding them up. I said it's 43 plus. I think it's time for me to retire.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
Come on up here and get in the middle between me and
Thank you.
Angel, and we'll get your picture taken with your official letter here. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
So what do we, Mr. Pettit-Miles, we've got a third one on there, but I don't have any paperwork for that.
Retiree's not here, and this is actually a redo. This individual retired, came back, and is retiring.
So they do come back.
She liked it so well, she came back. All right. Resolution 3919. Lori, can you read that into the record, please? Do you have a copy of it? I think she just got Craig's.
Whereas the retirement of Dawn Marie Shane, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from her duties as Paramedic 3, Department of Public Safety, Emergency Medical Services Division, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Dawn Marie Shane as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Dawn Marie Shane for the able and loyal manner in which she performed her public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be her evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the February 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Thank you. Can we have a motion on Resolution 3919?
So moved.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Now, can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Mr. Angel?
No, she's not here, so what does it matter? Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell? Yes. Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals Resolution 3919 has been approved for the retirement of Dawn Marie Shane. And just double checking, she's not here, correct?
For the second time.
Okay. And, or second retirement, I should say. So, Dawn, congratulations, and come back again if you want to. So, all right. Anybody want to say any words about? Okay. That's it. Thank you. Okay, thank you for indulging us in the few little ceremonies there. We truly do consider our employees family, and every time we get a chance to recognize them, whether it be for Employee of the Month or retirement. We'd like to take that opportunity to do it, and we appreciate you being present tonight to see that. So thank you. And at this time, we have some introductions.
Sir.
Of new
Thank you,
employees.
President Pepper, Commissioners. We planned on having 3 new employees introduced tonight, but we had a couple last-minute change of plans, so we're down to 1 employee to be introduced, and that honor goes to Director of Planning Services, Sarah Kiefer. Sarah?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm very pleased tonight to introduce Valerie Kearney, who joined us February 7th as a GIS analyst. She comes to us with a background of using GIS in her environmental work, in environmental education in Williamston, New York, as well as with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. She's hit the ground running. She's already working on 2 new projects for us. We couldn't be more pleased to have her on board. She resides in Commissioner Sweeney's and Pepper's districts. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you all so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to the work I have ahead of me. Thank you.
Great to have you on board, and wish you a very long career here. And Commissioner Sweeney?
Welcome to the county. We know that GIS, you and I know that GIS touches everything. I think even Susan's left, but I think even when a check comes in, there's a GIS code to it. So you've stepped into some big shoes. Congratulations. I wish you well.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearings. And the first item is petition for the conditional use requiring site plan approval. It falls under Commissioner Howell's district. I'll turn it over to you, sir. I'm sure you'll turn it over to Ms. Kiefer.
It's quite a prediction there. Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Kiefer?
Thank you, Commissioner. Just first, a word about how the hearings tonight will be conducted. This public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony on the applications before the Levy Court. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. All statements are to be made from the podium at the front of the room or follow the directions to join online. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. For each application, the President will introduce the application. Levy Court will then receive testimony from those in favor. Testimony will then be received from those who may be opposed. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, the hearing on the application will be closed, and the Levy Court will take what action it deems appropriate. Levy Court's decision will be based upon public hearing testimony given at this meeting and a recommendation submitted to the Levy Court by the Regional Planning Commission. I would ask that that recommendation be included by reference in the permanent record of this meeting established by the Clerk of the Peace. Public notice of this hearing was published in the February 4th, 2022 edition of the Delaware State News. The first application before the Levy Court, CS 2201, is conditional use site plan for a private school. The site is zoned AR, agricultural residential. It's just under 2 acres on the east side of Parker's Chapel Road, north of Westville Road, south of Hartley. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony in the application at their February 3rd hearing, and at their February 10th business meeting, voted to recommend conditional approval, including recommending a waiver from the required buffer between non-residential and residential uses, citing that the intensity of the use is very low and there's likely to be minimal impact on the surrounding area. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval, including approval of that waiver. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions for Ms. Kiefer? Seeing none, thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing on this application, CS-22-01, and ask anyone that's in the audience here in the building that is in favor to please come forward and tell us why you're in favor and why we should pass this.
Good evening. My name is Greg Scott with Scott Engineering, 22 Old Rudnick Lane, Dover, Delaware, and we prepared the plan for Mr. Troyer, who owns...
Excuse me, Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm, sir,
sorry.
to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Sorry to jump the gun there. I'm in favor of the application simply because that's what he pays me to do. But it's a fairly straightforward application, pretty simplistic. Private Amish school. We're aware of the staff's comments as well as the Planning Commission's comments. We made some minor modifications to the plan after the first public hearing, and I think you'll find that the plan's very suitable for what they're trying to do out here. Mr. Troyer is here tonight to answer any questions you might have, but I'm happy to answer questions you might have regarding the site development plan.
Any questions? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience that is in favor of this plan to please come forward? Anyone else who's in favor of this, please come forward and tell us why.
Larry Troyer, as the property owner and trying to get it approval to build a schoolhouse.
Mr. Troyer, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
And so as far as speaking in favor, I don't really have a whole lot to say. You know, I mean, we got the need for the school and just tried to get approval to have a school put out there. So.
Any questions?
I got a couple of comments. First of all, I'm glad we talked earlier. Got a few things ironed out. I'm a retired teacher, just like Commissioner Buxton down there. Anything of an educational nature is going to catch my attention. Now, you said that the purpose for this really was to make sure that there was ample room for classes that did not exceed 25 students.
Yes, basically what we have traditionally done was we've got quite a few schoolhouses throughout the community, and we like to keep it from 25 to 20 students per schoolhouse. It just has worked good for us, and that's what we are trying to continue to do as the community grows and the need arises. And this will probably be followed by at least one, possibly two more schools coming in the future.
I know there are about at least 3 Amish schools within like a 1 or 2 mile radius of my house. I ride past them all the time. Now, they will only go through the 8th grade, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good to me. You won't have anything to do with the inner workings of the education. You're just providing the land, right?
I am providing the land and trying to get the approval through to build a schoolhouse, yes.
Okay, very good. Well, I think it's a great humanitarian effort on your part, and I commend you for it. Okay? Thanks a lot for being here.
Any other questions? Mr. Buxton?
I'm glad to hear the word as you continue to grow. Because as one commissioner, I think I share the comments of others that we appreciate the Amish in this community and everything that you bring to the community. And I think that you've pretty much figured out how to run the schools the way you see fit. So anything we can do to get out of your way, we're more than happy to try and do. So best wishes to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the audience here tonight in favor of this? Anyone else in the audience in favor, please come forward.
If we have any guests on WebEx that wish to address Levy Court in favor of this application, *3 on your mobile phone or the raise hand icon on your computer.
I see no hands raised online.
Okay, at this time, anyone in the audience here tonight that is opposed, anyone that may be opposed to this, please come forward.
Similarly, anyone on WebEx who wishes to speak in opposition to this application, *3 on your mobile phone or the raise hand icon on your computer will bring you into the room.
No hands raised online.
Thank you. Any questions, further questions from the commissioners? Comments? Seeing none, this time we'll close the public hearing on CS-22-01, and I ask for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we approve CS 22-01 owned by Larry A. and Anna Mae Troy for the purpose of a private Amish school, and we grant their conditional use.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Howe, second by Commissioner Hall. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reasons stated by Commissioner Howell and the RPC recommendation.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, previous comments.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, per staff and RPC recommendations.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, for reasons I stated, RPC's approval.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, per staff and RPC approval.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for all reasons stated, and it's compatible with the area, and it's good for the Amish community.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals application CS-22-01 has been approved. Thank you, folks. Good luck.
Mr. President.
Mr. Boxton.
Mr. Troyer, if this isn't in fact true, could you reach out to Commissioner Howard and myself? But DelDOT is supposed to have improved the school markings for the existing Amish schools. There should have been new signage, painting, and others that have gone in over the last month or two. And if that's not true, they probably need to get the tires kicked again. That's all.
Can't say that I have noticed anything, that there has been anything improved or changes made.
I don't know if you can get a hold of Commissioner Howard or myself, but I'd be happy to look into that again. All right.
I got his phone
Figured
number
it.
today, so.
Yeah. I know it's supposed to have been done by now. So thank you. All righty.
All right, thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll move on to petition to amend the comprehensive plan map and zoning map. Ordinance LC 22-01. Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Keever, you have the floor.
Thank you. Ordinance LC 2201 is a petition to change both the zoning map and the comprehensive plan map. The site is currently zoned split between AR, agricultural residential, and BG, general business, and it likewise split between low-density residential and highway commercial in the comprehensive plan. The applicant proposes to rezone the area entirely to BG. It is located inside the growth zone. The site in its entirety is 2.6 acres. The area of petition is 1.8 acres. It's on the east side of Route 13, south of Crestwood Drive, northeast of Viola. The Regional Planning Commission took testimony on this application at their February 3rd hearing, and at their February 10th business meeting, voted unanimously to recommend approval, citing that it is in keeping with the character of the area, availability of infrastructure in the area, as well as the elimination of the condition of split zoning. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Kiefer? Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we'll ask anyone in the audience that is here to provide testimony in favor of Ordinance LC 22-01 to please come forward. Please state your name, be sworn or affirmed.
Max Friedman, 14 Rockford Crossing, Dover, Delaware.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Max Friedman. I'm a vice president with Carson Development. We're a real estate development company specializing in affordable rental housing. Our proposed project in Felton consists of 2 parcels totaling about 3.8 acres, including the 2.5-acre parcel that's been under discussion this month for rezoning. Our intent is to rezone that entire parcel to BG to be consistent with the neighboring parcel in the project, and also similar projects along 13 that are also zoned BG. And then more specifically, our proposed use of housing would be allowed as a conditional use under the BG zoning. We'd be proposing 40 to 50 affordable rental apartment units in a 2-story walk-up garden style. And the housing use would be consistent with the neighboring mobile home community and similar single-family communities in that Woodside East area, which is east of Route 13. And then the last thing worth mentioning is the sewer access. So the other parcel on our project and the neighboring mobile home community are currently under a contract sewer agreement with the county. So any commercial development that might take place on those 2 parcels for our project would definitely consider that sewer access to be a pretty big asset. So that's kind of the long and short of why we're pursuing this rezoning. Our civil engineer is here to answer any technical questions you might have or that someone might have in the public hearing. Thank you.
Any commissioner have any questions? Commissioner Sweeney.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Friedman, is anybody being displaced?
No, it's a vacant parcel.
Vacant. I thought I rode by it, and I know one parcel's looks like it's part of Fred Voshel's old construction yard, but I wasn't sure about the other parcel. So
there's a vacant, dilapidated trailer that hasn't been inhabited in a long time. That's there, but no one's being displaced. It's vacant.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience that's in favor of this project, please come forward. Anyone else in the audience in favor, please come forward. Okay. Mr. Pettermanche?
Do we have anyone on the WebEx that wishes to address Levy Court on this matter in favor? *3 on your mobile phone, *6 on your, or the raise hand icon on your computer. *3 on your mobile phone.
Mr. President, I see no hands raised online.
Thank you. At this time, anyone in the audience that is opposed to this project? Anyone opposed to this project, please come forward.
Similarly, if we have any guests on WebEx who wish to address Levy Court in opposition to this matter, *3 on your phone or the raise hand icon will bring you in.
No hands raised online.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions before I close the hearing? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Turn it over to Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve CZ-22-01 Carson Development LLC. Based on RPC approval, staff approval, the rezoning meets the character and is compatible with the area, as well as no public opposition. It removes the split zoning of the parcel and has available infrastructure for the long-term plans of the developer.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Maston to approve. Any questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reason stated by Commissioner Sweeney.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, per staff and RPC recommendations.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reasons stated.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, per my motion.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals that ordinance LC 22-01 has been approved by Levy Court. Thank you, folks. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the ordinance amending Kent County Code, reference categories of employment. Mr. Angel, turn it over to you, sir.
Mr. Quayla?
Commissioners, as you may recall, back on February the 1st, we reviewed this in the committee, but for our listening audience, last year the Levy Court requested and the General Assembly approved an amendment to the code to codify the county administrator position similar to that of Sussex County. As a result, there's some conflicting language in the county's personnel ordinance, specifically in the category section where the unclassified service, which is composed of department heads, was appointed by Levy Court. The new code language says that Levy Court appoints the finance director and county administrator. So these revisions will correct that conflict, and it also cleaned up some other language like removing the mortgage commissioner, a position that hasn't existed, I'd say, for maybe 20 years now. And the Board of Assessment also dealt away with a number of years ago. As you recall, the Board of Assessment actually used to run the assessment office, but that was incorporated by statute into the finance office or department. So this would correct that language and make other minor improvements to the wording. Back to you, Commissioner Angel.
Any questions for Mr. Coelho? Seeing none, back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, ordinance LC 22-04. So I'll ask anyone in the audience that's in favor of this to please come forward. Anyone in favor, please come forward.
If we have anyone on WebEx who wishes to address Levy Court in favor of this matter, *3 on your mobile phone or raise hand icon.
Mr. President, I see no hands raised online.
Thank you. In that case, we'll ask anyone in the audience that is opposed to ordinance LC 22-04 to please come forward. Anyone in opposition?
If we have anyone on WebEx who wishes to address Levy Court in opposition to this measure, *3 on your phone or the raise hand icon will bring you in.
No hands raised online.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions before I close the public hearing? Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Petitmage, does this change the employment status of anybody that's currently in the director roles, or is it for anybody new put into those roles?
I think what it does is it changes the composition of the unclassified service. So those positions that are listed, all the management positions are still exempt positions.
Okay.
They are just not unclassified positions. So the unclassified class are appointed by Levy Court.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, close the public hearing. And Commissioner Angel, turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I make a motion to approve ordinance LC 22-04, where the 101st General Assembly of Delaware amended Chapter 41, Title 9 of the Delaware Code to formalize the position of the county administrator and prescribe therein certain duties, and where it did also deleted certain categories. We have no longer a mortgage person, so it deletes that. It updates our whole list, and as Mr. Petitmage says, it also removes and certain department directors' positions from the unclassified service and clarifies other language.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney to approve. Any questions? Seeing none. Turn it over to Ms. Tanaka for roll call, please.
Mr. Angel,
Yes, as per my motion.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. That concludes the public hearings for this evening. We'll go on to old business. Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. Any questions on this, Mr. Petitmage?
If I could just have a word to clarify this item. In November, Levy Court passed a motion to create 2 grant programs using the American Rescue Plan Act funding. One was with the Chamber of Commerce to benefit small businesses. The other is with the Kent County Tourism Corporation to benefit people in the hospitality industry in Kent County. It's recently come to light that, reviewing the minutes, that the motion that was made relative to the small business grant application, the way it was read into the record was slightly incorrect in that it referred to not-for-profit businesses, and it was intended to be for-profit businesses. So I've consulted with the county attorney today, and he suggested we get it onto the agenda. It was added in time to meet the notice requirements. And so the intention here is to have the motion restated and revoted on for the record so that we have a proper record of it being for-profit businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Angel?
Thank you. I move to designate $3 million in Kent County American Rescue Plan Act funding for the purpose of establishing Kent County Small Business Assistance Grant Program in partnership with the Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce that will provide financial relief for for-profit small businesses based in Kent County that can successfully demonstrate negative financial impacts on their business as a direct result of COVID-19 pandemic through a grant application and review process established and administered by the Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce. And I further move to designate $2 million in Kent County American Rescue Plan Act funding for the purpose of establishing a Kent County hospitality industry grant program in partnership with Kent County Tourism Corporation that will provide financial relief to for-profit tourism industry business located in Kent County, including but not limited to hotels, motels, banquet, and meeting room facilities that can successfully demonstrate negative financial impacts on their businesses as a direct result of COVID-19 pandemic through the grant application and review process established and administered by the Kent County Tourism Corporation.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Masson. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals that the motion passed. Motion M21-241, reference update on proposed grant programs for small business and hospitality industry. Next item on the agenda, Mrs. Maston, turn over to you.
Mrs. Kiefer?
Thank you. This application is a revision to a planned unit development that was originally approved by the Levy Court in 2016. And it's actually a fairly minor revision to the central open space. And Mark is pulling up a rendering so you can see. As it's currently approved, it's just a clubhouse. The courts weren't part of the approval. So the new developer is looking to add all of this in addition to the clubhouse and to shift the clubhouse. The request, because it's a planned unit development, Levy Court essentially approves all the setbacks within it as opposed to using the standard setbacks in the code. So the developer runs into some problems since the area is surrounded by roadways. They're constrained by front setbacks. So what they're asking is simply to revise that setback for this open space to 7 feet to enable them to develop what's on the screen. I'm happy to answer any questions. Staff supports the request.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Maston.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the revision of Auburn Meadows CS 16-04 and SL-1701 for the PUD Landscape Plan Central Active Open Space Area.
Second motion.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Masson, second by Commissioner Angel. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper,
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. The roll call reveals that motion passed on CS-16-04 and SL-17-01. Okay, new business. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier this week, actually it was the end of last week, I was made aware of a need, an urgent need for funding by the Code Purple organization. And so as a response to that, my first reaction was maybe we could leverage ARPA funding for this. But I was concerned about the timeline because we're still maturing that process and policy. And so while we are identifying a source of funding, I asked Ennio if he would come up with a proposal that we could consider so we could better understand, how best to help the organization. It's been a long 2 years. A lot of people have been suffering, a lot of disruption in jobs, and so homelessness has increased drastically, and then we've had one of the coldest winters I can remember. So before I speak to the proposal, I just wanted to ask the county administrator to talk a little bit about the source of funding that was identified that could help with this.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner Hall. You may recall that in April of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, it was actually one of the first meetings we had solely by telephone, if you can remember that. Those were tough days. But we had a request from the State Housing Authority. In fact, it went to all 3 counties for assistance with rental and utility billing to help low-income households stay in their homes at the beginning of this pandemic. And Levy Court rose to the occasion and put $180,000 aside for this fund that was going to be paired up with state money to help people. In the intervening time, the CARES Act passed and other monies came to the State Housing Authority for that purpose, and they did not seek the money after we used it, or after we appropriated it. And so we've been carrying this under, it's in the capital budget. There's $180,000 listed under emergency housing assistance. And when Commissioner Hall had sent an email about this need, that idea came to mind because we recently were in budget review preparing for our upcoming budget, and we were actually preparing to take that out of the budget next year because apparently the state had no need for it. But it was intended for emergency housing assistance. So it's there, and if Levy Court chooses to use it in some fashion, it would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. President Dimas. So I explained to Ennio that this wasn't a committee meeting, so the opportunity to speak may not be there, although if you're interested in hearing from him. The proposal here has been in the packet. I appreciate him and his team getting this together for us so that it could be in the packet since last Friday night. But essentially it lays out 3 options. The first, focusing on acquiring and outfitting a bus. The second one, on the very final, the last page, is acquiring igloo tents. And then the third option is essentially helping to offset cost of operations. And I might be as bold as to suggest that given the amount of money that is coming back into our coffers, that perhaps we fully fund option A for the bus and fund option C up to $30,000 for a total of $90,000. As the county administrator just stated, this money was earmarked for the specific purpose of housing assistance. So I believe that it aligns well with this. We didn't know the money was coming back, but it has. So there's a need. We have resources, opportunity here. Mr. President, would you entertain having Ennio come down and just speak to this, or would you like to just?
I think that it warrants him coming down and speaking.
All right, please.
Mr. President,
Box.
as he's down, just refreshing the memory, was this part of the funding that was left over from the CDBG? Was that a difference? Remember, we had excess funds. There was a consideration to keep it here and utilize it for things specific like Code Purple, and instead it was articulated to move it on, and now it looks like it's coming back to us?
This was actually money that Levy Court appropriated out of the general fund contingency in 2020. It was in April, and it was a separate appropriation. It was at the request of the Delaware State Housing Authority, and each of the three counties did a similar thing. We each appropriated money, and then they ended up not needing it. But it's been carried in our budget ever since as, yeah.
So the other funding was not returned, I assume?
Right.
A mention of that. Okay, cool.
Hello, everyone. I'm humbled to be here. Thank you for having us as Code Purple. Thank you. Everyone really has been a part. I mean, I've been involved in the community with Eric, Alan, Jeff, and everyone. Thank you for the community. We have the news. We got People's Church, Maranatha. We have community members, volunteers, site leaders, realtors, and our sheriff. Thank you for being here as well. So the proposal really, when our representative, Mr. Jeff, was saying that, he had heard, because we were at capacity. We've been at capacity for quite a while, but due to, the nature of our volunteers and my heart and the heart of our mission at Code Purple, it's very hard for us to say no. But we are at a point where we're going to start saying no, especially after hearing the comments that are being made here where there's money that someone could literally say there's no need for it in our community, when Code Purple every night right now is helping house 196 people. That includes children. I mean, we have abandoned children. I mean, we have people who leave their children at Code Purple to take care of, and then we have to call DCF. We have people, I have a volunteer here tonight that just told me she got cussed out in the face before coming here and had to kick someone out. And we have 196. We have people right now that the governor's letting out, and those people have had criminal cases where they've been arrested for over 100 times. And those are the type of people that right now Code Purple is having to take care of. Yes, we have children, we have women in need, but we have a lot of men as well with a lot of mental health criminal cases that we are no one in their right mind in Code Purple has ever been ready to handle. But we have been handling it, and we have learned to handle it. And the only way we are able to do that is because we have a driving force of great volunteers, connection with the government, help. We have a nurse practitioner that volunteers. We have one of our medical doctors is here tonight that volunteers. We have different clinical care coordinators that partner with us from the Bridge Clinic. So that has helped us be able to be able to maintain. But we are at a breaking point right now with not only, it was one thing if we have a lot of numbers. It's another thing when you have all those numbers with all the mental health, drug addiction, and just, the things that COVID-19 has also caused with just people worrying about everything happening in the world. I mean, know that, you might think a homeless person, hearing about the fight in Ukraine or the, wars coming, those things might not be a big deal to them, but they do raise their mental health, and later on, we have to face that. And so we also feed, we do breakfast and dinner and a to-go meal. We do COVID-19 vaccines every week, testing. We do connect people with rehabilitation if they are going through addiction. Teresa here, she stays with them through their process while they're in that. And so we do try to facilitate everything else that's happening in the state. But our concern is, Delaware State Housing Authority, the Housing Alliance, all these different independent housing agencies are doing what they're supposed to be doing, then our numbers should go down. But our numbers as of today, as of this month compared to last month, have gone up 65%. So I don't know about you all, but I have, common sense is going to tell us that next year it's going to be worse. And I can't say that I'm going to, my volunteers, especially after we're trying to make make it work budget-wise. I mean, we cannot expect churches. I'm a pastor's kid, and I do not in any way, shape, or form expect my church to handle the financial burden of handling all these people in overnight sanctuary shelter, and you all should not either. We need to be paying these churches rent for their time, for their space, for the efforts that they're putting in to be at risk with having this population in their church on a regular basis with their regular congregation. We can't expect that every church, and it's obvious that every church does not want to be involved with this population. That's why we only have 2 churches in Kent County that do it, that help you as a community and county handle 196 people who are emergency stranded. This means people who are in the sanctuaries, people that are in hotels, people that I've had to call their families and beg them to take them, people who we have in tents that we monitor all the time to make sure that they're doing good. Because the igloo tents that are mentioned in that proposal aren't just any tents. They're actually tents that people use to live or to fish over ice. So they're really good for very cold situations. They have a bed already installed in it. It's something I read from a United Methodist Church in Utah that had done it, and they had good success. So, that's very, we'd obviously have to have volunteers and attendants to be taking care of that. The bus outfit is really good to help us out to be able to solve the issue of we have no space. If anyone has a space that we could go to, it would be great. Because right now we're paying a lot of money in rent. We're paying over $5,000 in rent and utilities right now between our both sites. That doesn't include us, renting out a home to rent out. That doesn't include us paying hotel vouchers. So I don't know where I took over Code Purple in 2019 as a very happy young man as a volunteer. Nowhere in Code Purple, when I entered it, Allie can tell you, and Rebecca Martin, my past president, they usually would survive on $8,000 a year. That's what their budget was. But they didn't, COVID-19 wasn't around then. And now churches are not going to open unless you're saying, hey, you need to bring this amount of money to the table for security, this amount of money to the table for health, this amount of money to the table for rent, or else my parishioners are going to tell you to get out, like many churches have already told us. And then on top of that, there's nowhere else to go. So the city of Dover has said there's no space for us to be able to inhabit for a low rate. I've come to the county and we haven't been able to find a building. So we're at a standstill. So the bus will help us to be able, and we have those people that are cussing my volunteers out when we have to kick them out. If I have someone who is using drugs in the bathroom and I have to tell them to go, or maybe I have, a boyfriend or girlfriend that they just really don't want to obey the rules and they want to be together, and my heart does not want to let them be in the cold. But if they choose to do that, if we have a bus where I can have volunteers and attendants be there, there will be we'd have a room that could be there for settling down angry people. We could have capabilities to have storage for things that can help with overdoses, such as Narcan, and information too for each county, not because there is really not a lot of help in Milford, Harrington, Smyrna. So this bus could also go to offset some of their crises. We can also use the bus to partner with different companies that create ovens and thermostats and toilets and all these things that have. I went to Lowe's the other day and I was looking at refrigerators and I literally felt confused. So you have to imagine, if we're putting homeless people into new housing with new technology, and we have people who have been in prison for 42 years and they just got out, and you expect them, one of the first people they're going to meet are people from Code Purple during the wintertime especially. And now more than ever, we're getting 30 to 80 calls a day of people. We're getting calls from people in Georgia, people in North Carolina, people in Pennsylvania, saying we have nowhere to go, and we heard about Code Purple, or we heard that in Delaware there might be a house because our state has no beds. So that's really tragic, and that's something that we don't want to see. And those are things that we haven't seen in the past. We haven't seen people calling because they're in crises from other states, or other nonprofits from other states calling because they have nowhere to take people. And so we just want to be, if we have no housing to go, if we have no space, I need assistance to be able to pay for the rent, because I cannot just keep, you give us $3,000, the city of Dover gives us $3,000, the state gives us $8,000. That is nowhere near coming up. So where this money is coming from. It's coming from my pockets, it's coming from pockets of my volunteers, it's coming from constituents, it's coming from some grants, obviously, because I'm doing everything I can to write them. But this does not make up for the need. We're not, there's no way, shape, or form that, if you have churches that would like to open up, we would love it. If you would open up this government building at night, and so I don't have to pay the rent, that would be great. But we need to do something as a community, because this is rising, this is only going up. You're only gonna have people like me around to deal with this happily for so long. Because I do not get a salary from Code Purple. I do this out of love of my heart. We're very volunteer based. We're just starting now this year and the end of last year to start trying to pay people to do certain contract work, especially the counselors, especially the people who have to be one-on-one in the tent cities and on the streets, because those are things that I'm still learning about. And And then as we grow and as I learn, and as our organization learns, we will meet that need. But right now we need help with rent, so we can keep going for another year or longer if you can do more than 90,000. And then also this bus, because I really need we already have a bus we can outfit, and it's going to be perfectly fine. And I already have, I'm already making those partnerships with Lowe's and Home Depot and with different nonprofits that are going to partner with us on the bus to make it work. But this, these funds would be able to assist us to get that started, help me not have to worry about the next year and a half of rent. So I can focus that money on hotel vouchers or on putting money into the hands of people who are in need for their first time deposit. Or the money that we need to transfer people to rehabs or to the ER, all those type of things. And also, be able to have money to save, because we are in a capital campaign to raise a building, to save money to raise a building right now too. So I ask all of you to look deep in your hearts, realize that this is a really big problem. You have people here, you have volunteers, myself, we're here to do it with you and do it alongside you. I'm not gonna go anywhere as long as I feel like we are all in this together. But I tell you that I cannot, in my right mind, say that, because the city is the city has not helped out a lot either, not even in a visitation or compassion type of way. We feed meals every day at 5:30 at dinner to over 80 people that are homeless or low income. We serve over 20 to 30 rescue bags from our office every weekday. And we right now are housing at the 2 sites. If you want to come visit, the men's site, we're housing up to upwards of 62 people. And at our women's site, upwards to 22, sometimes 32 people. So yeah, those are the numbers that we have right now. And if you go visit, you'll see them for yourselves. And it's a crisis. And we need to have something done, because the last thing you would want is the Co-Purple to stop doing emergency sheltering and to turn into a marketing agency where all I'm doing is just advertising what's happening, because I don't have the money to solve it. So we need to do something together so that we can solve this problem and nip it in the bud now, so that we don't have to face it in the future. And if you partner with me, I promise not only will I partner with you, my 400 volunteers, they're not obviously all here today, but we will partner with you as well. And we will make sure that we help you and the rest of the city. And Dover Interfaith Mission for Housing, they just bought that building, the Delaware Auto Exchange, and now it's not going to work because of chemical issues. Like, who did not check that before they just paid for that building, set $500,000. So those are things that when I see that myself, with $500,000, I could literally change a lot of worlds. So I hope that you consider that. And then if you want to hear from any volunteers or like the church pastors or leaders or the site leaders and get like proof, because I think sometimes people hear from me and they don't believe me. But if you need proof, I do have people here with degrees and know-how and lots of knowledge to help you answer any questions you might have. Thank you. And if you have any questions for me, let me know.
Any questions, commissioners? Commissioner Angel.
Well, I don't know where to start. As co-founder of Co-Purple with Becky, our budget was more than $8,000 a year.
That's just what Becky told me.
Well, we had donors that gave us money too. So, which when I met with you and your mother as the board members back in May or June to talk about some perceptions and things that were taking place and talk about the books, and she said, you get them to me. I never got to see that because I asked you about if I was still part of the board and you told me yes. So, but the only time I ever get a call is when you need something. This time I didn't get a call. Mr. Hall got the call, which is fine. But communication is one of the issues I have. There's lack of communication because every time I get a call or I get a call from a person and I say, call this number, they call me back, so they're not answering. I call you, I don't get a call back. I just recently learned of you put 2 females in place to take calls, which I did talk to. In fact, if we could get it on the record, because this is being transcribed, give me their names and numbers so we all have it. So that way, if we get calls now, because it's going to be in the paper, that they can get the call too. Because I know you're busy with your music and you're out of state a lot of times when I do call.
Oh, no, I could get your calls. I could have called you. But what happened was, remember, I did send you the numbers. So I also sent it to Mr. Buxton. And he did get the email. I don't know why you didn't get the email of the budget, but he did. Because he has gotten it. He actually responded. And it's not that I didn't want to respond to your phone call. It was that the main thing that was the case was because Rebecca was working on a certain case. And that case, Teresa, she's right here, she had responded to you, but Teresa has said that you haven't called her back since your first initial conversation, and you had mentioned you were going to call her back. And I'm just letting you know, she said that you haven't called her back yet. But she's here today if you wanted to respond to her.
Well, like I said, if we get it on record so we all have it, that way it's
we have the newspaper here with us today too, recording everything.
But a couple things that, one thing I have learned from our finance director, is accountability. So if we give money out, we need to know where it goes, how it's being spent, and the whole enchilada, if you will.
Yeah,
So-
it would go to People's Church, Maranatha Church, and then the bus would be the volunteer site leaders that would work with me to do it. Just so you know exactly where the money would go, because it would go literally People's Church, Maranatha Church, and then the outfitting of the bus.
Can you explain a little bit more about that bus?
Yeah.
Because I know Becky and I partnered with the mental health down in Lockerman in the city of Dover to help the people that had some issues with mental health, to help our homeless. So I don't know what's transpired. Once I hurt my foot, I had to kind of back down and stop doing some of the things I was doing. But
yeah, the Brandywine bus does still come down, but Brandywine used to be more towards the south. They used to do Kent County, but there is a bus, Brandywine, that comes out once or twice a month on a Friday to meet with people. So our bus would be an everyday thing. So we wouldn't be just twice a month or on a Friday or only to work with people who have addictions. We would be a bus that's operable every day, that we're open by someone. We could be available at nighttime. I have volunteers that go out and we do work at night, midnight. We're visiting people who are prostitutes that are out in the street. So this bus would be something not only that would be available, 9 to 3 on a Friday every couple of weeks, like that Brandywine bus you're speaking of does. We would be available every day, something that also would provide food, education. It would also have a calming room in it for the sites to use where people get out of, they become violent. And so that bus, we can use the funds to create a bus that will already have some things attached to it, but obviously because we want to use it as an educational piece, we will have to outfit some of it to have an oven or a toilet or a thermostat or a Ring camera, like all those things in one area, but outfitted for education. And so that will help us to be able to teach people, also use the bus for, a place for people to gather just to kind of hang out and get Narcan or get information or to, get food, non-perishable goods. But, if you're using it in the daytime at a school event or at a public event, you can have it for education. If we're using it for emergency purposes, we're using it to stop, overdoses, to be able to give out, COVID-19 tests or COVID-19 vaccines, to be able to also use it as a place. Like if let's say, a volunteer calls me at the men's site, oh my gosh, we just got 5 men and we already at 60 people, we can't take any more. All right, we're going to take the bus there. We're going to put the volunteer to stay there all night. Obviously our volunteers are there all night, we're literally from 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. when they're there for nighttime. So we'd have a volunteer that's there for that bus, that's there at night to just be there with the people who are outside, who can't go inside because they don't want to follow the rules. And that will still help us keep those individuals, especially if they're young people, young adults, out of your businesses, out of your vacant homes, out of your parks, and we'll keep them in a designated area, especially because some of these individuals, they do have a probation officer. They do have things that they have to do. They might have an offense where they are a sex offender. And so it's better to keep these people in a general area where we're able to watch them, keep connections with them, build that relationship with them as well, like we do, to be able to make sure that they're on the right path. And then obviously that's going to lead to housing, because no one's going to house someone who doesn't know how to act right in society. And that's what we're trying to do, is get this population to be to be looked at like normal people in society. But to do that, they have to do their part, and this bus will help mediate that.
And that, what you just said is true, but I just came back from NACO in Washington, D.C., and I sat on the program services over there, and this is one of the issues we talked about. And it wasn't until I brought up the point, you can't hand out money or give things to a person when they have no training of how to budget, how to spend their money, how to live, how to buy food, how to pay their bills. Until you get them the training to do that, all you're doing is throwing money away, and they're going to do the same thing. Most places get destroyed, and it costs landlords more money, because that's what's happening. They don't know how to take care because they don't have the training. Until you get training for that, which I haven't heard about yet, that's what we need to get done. And all the counties that were at this meeting agreed with me that we just can't keep doing things for free for people.
Yeah, I agree.
And then because it gets destroyed, as I said.
We have a workforce program actually if you go to our website and you will find it under programs. We have a workforce program that's sponsored by Delaware State. We do have, they give us $49,900 every year to put into a work program. So far in the last year, we've, between now and last January of 2021, we've had 18 people go into that course. They have to stay in that course. It's a 6-week course. They do have to at least be there 3 to 4 times in a week. We have opened it up also to young adults. But to add to that, there are, if you Google workforce programs in Dover, Delaware, you'll find that the Boys and Girls Club have one. First State Community Action has one. A whole bunch of agencies have workforce programs. So I think before you ask Co-Purple to focus on workforce programs, you should need to talk to nonprofits and for-profit agencies that's their focus. Our focus, obviously we have a program in the state of Delaware that does job program, because I know people say that to me, oh, you're not helping people get jobs. And I like to say, yes, I am. I have an actual contract with the state of Delaware showing that we do. But also, I know also what happens is if Co-Purple, like many nonprofits, tries to do too much of other people's jobs, like if I try to go step on First State Community Action's feet or Delaware Interfaith Mission's feet, you start to make people upset. So obviously I have my job program and we are successful in that. But I will say that we need to also push people who only do workforce programs as their nonprofit to help partner with us. And I can tell you, as of this day, I've had not one job program contact Co-Purple to say, hey, we want to help you train your homeless people. So I would love to do that, but there are people getting hundreds of thousands of dollars to create work programs, and that's not us.
Well, the same thing with work programs. It's time element. They have to know the respect of being to work on time and staying at work.
Yeah.
And not calling out and doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Amen.
That's another issue that's subline to that. That's how you.
And we can help out with that. Like we can help out with the emergency aspect of that of other people's workforce programs not working. But right now, as we build that relationship with the people, we have to build that relationship with people, and we're getting inundated with so many new people. I don't understand how you can expect us to raise $100,000 for rent and for facility costs, and then also create a work program, and then also find new buildings, and then also make sure that they stay at the job, then make sure they don't overdose. I mean, it's a lot of factors, obviously, but I just want to make sure that we're understanding everything that we're saying to me, to make sure that you understand the gravity of what you're saying, because it's a lot.
Well, the other thing is, too, Mr. Patamaj and I are part of the city of Dover looking at purchasing a motel. Okay? So that's something that hasn't come to fruition yet. It's in the discussions with the state, the county, and the city.
Let it happen. Name Jesus.
So, but we need to have more dialogue on that. We need to look at not just one place, but maybe two to three other spots. Yeah. So we can have that. But that would be something that we could do together as a team, as a partner.
Definitely.
And that's what I'm not hearing. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, and you don't know what's going on. Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it forth.
Yeah.
So, and I know when we set up our 501(c), we couldn't have employees, and I know in here you talk about staff, and you have 2 ladies now running your program. So, and I know there's only so much money, you can't pay them, but there's only so much money you can acquire, and if it goes over that amount, the IRS is going to come after you because you've spent more money than what you're allowed.
Yeah.
So these are things I've been trying to get up with you to talk about, because as I'm hearing stuff, I wanted to get to you. Just like the money here, Mr. Hall, you thought it was on that just little pitty $1,800 or $1,200. I think that's what you thought I was talking about. That was part of it, yes, but there's other things I wanted to talk to you. So communication to me is number one. If we can't communicate, we're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I know, Alan, but last time you talked with the pastor of Maranatha, you and I talked, nothing came from that. So the reason actually why I sent it to the two ladies, because I was hoping
here in
that
September
from them something more would come from communicating with you. But still, after communicating with you, Alan, nothing came from Teresa. So I really would like, I want to communicate with you. I really do. I want to work with you. Obviously, me and Jeff have worked together very well in the last week and a half, communicated, emailed, talked. So I do call, I do communicate, but I cannot invest my time in things that do not bring fruit, because that's not wise of me, and that's what I'm just going to say to that.
If I could ask that we just focus on the proposal, because I'm actually encouraged. All right, because I know that we give $3,000 to Co-Purple, and we're asking a lot. We're expecting a lot of accountability here for $3,000 investment. And $3,000 to Dover Interfaith. But what I'm hearing tonight is that we, the county, might want to take a more holistic approach and look at all of the support that we give and how holistic that is. And maybe we could actually kick it up a little bit more than $6,000 a year. And because it's a good point, right? So it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. can't ask one organization to do it all. I've spent the last 3 years learning about how volunteer organizations are taking on the entire homeless issue on their backs with little support from municipalities or the county or the state, but with lots of expectations of what are you doing and why aren't you doing more? So I'd like to bring it back to the proposal here because we have funding. I think, and I spoke to Ennio about this, that we need to look at it structurally in the long term of how we can provide better support, accountability, all of the elements that cause homelessness and need to address homelessness. It's very complex. But tonight, just for the purpose of addressing an urgent need, we have our proposal and we have funds. And so I wonder if we could just focus on this, any questions about this, and then look to move forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hall, but I've been doing this for a lot longer, so I have a little more. That's why I needed to say what I had to say. And if we're going to communicate and work together.
No, and I love you, Alan. Like, Alan is like has started Co-Purple. I wouldn't be here without you. So I'm thankful for you, Alan. I don't want you to think anything other than that. I'm very thankful for you. You've been sent by God to start this, and you're going to do great things.
Commissioner Hall. Good evening, Mr. Zaragoza. A few questions for you. First, regarding the igloo tents, how many were you anticipating? That's the first question. Like, how many tent units were you thinking about?
Four at the women and children's site, and then 4 at the men's site.
So 8 total?
8 total.
And what's the typical cost?
The tents are around like $2,000 to outfit it with like everything that would be to be independent, and then also nailed to pavement.
So $2,000 per tent
Mm-hmm.
times 8. Okay. And do we have locations for them where they're?
Yeah, they would have to be able to comply with what the city manager and the fire marshal are going to be okay with. They would need to be in church parking lots.
Okay, they'd set up in like on a paved surface or something.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was a few questions. The other question, or maybe it's not a question, a comment regarding the vehicle. Typically, when we buy vehicles, it takes a little bit of time because we'll develop a bid, we'll put it out and because we're using public money, we try to get the best price that we can, and usually the best way to do that is through some type of competitive bid. What we're finding right now, I'm not sure about buses, but for other types of large wheelbase vehicles that we use, like in paramedics and public works and things, we're having real difficult time sourcing vehicles, period, of that class, the work trucks. I'm not sure about buses, but maybe there's some out there, but we
have
probably
one.
need it. I'm sorry.
We have one. We do have one that we just have to outfit it for this purpose.
Oh, you have the bus?
Yes, we do have. We have 2 buses actually that can be served for this purpose. If in case what you're saying happens, we do have 2 buses that are not being used that are working that we use for transportation, and we rent one of them. We own one of them. We'll be able, if we were not able to purchase a new bus, like the way you're saying, then we do have permission to use the one rented bus and then we can outfit our already owned bus to be educational as well as serve the purposes of fighting COVID-19, addiction, and the other things. With those 2 buses, we obviously would have to outfit them, so they would need to be gutted and to be constructionally sound, and so that's where that cost would come into for those used buses. But our goal is to get a new bus, like you're saying as well, with the bid.
Okay, because 2 different things there: outfitting existing versus buying new and outfitting it. But on that part, if you were inclined to do that, we'd probably need some more information to spec it out.
Yeah.
And particularly if we're going to buy a bus, we'd put it out for bid, and it just takes time. It's not as easy as when we're buying our own vehicle. It takes a
Yeah,
little
and
more
we're not
time to-
desperate. I mean, if you let's say y'all don't like the bus idea, but you do want to help out Maranatha Church and People's Church, I'm perfectly happy in, we're all happy in asking for help with assistance with rent for the next 2 years for those 2 sites.
And I just had one other question or comment. Because we're in the middle of the winter right now, and this is a problem. I mean, when Commissioner Hall sent the email that weekend, it was like in the teens or something. It was really cold. So it was like you needed something immediately to get people out of the cold. Some of these solutions are going to take a little longer. But is there something immediate like assistance to put people in hotels or, something that we could address the immediate need, like in these cold nights?
Yeah, it'd be great for, for the Maranatha site, for People's Church site, for those site leaders to have access to hotel voucher funds, because we do not have hotel voucher fund program like we did the last year. That program, Delaware State Housing Authority, as probably many of you know, is a little backed up on some things. So they haven't released any of those programs again. They probably may, but maybe it'll be towards the end of the year. So any hotel voucher funds would be greatly appreciated, to be able to put people in hotels in the meantime. That'd be great.
So I may just suggest that to Levy Court, that if we kind of look at it as a tiered approach where there's the immediate need, and if you wanted to set up some type of I'm not sure if there's hotels that you do business with or that we could assist in the payment for, where they just bill the county or something. That'd probably be the easiest thing immediately, rather than turning over a lump sum check or something. We would just pay the bill for the immediate need, and then figure out some of these longer term solutions that are probably more like next year, because you order 8 of these sophisticated fishing igloos. I'm not sure if they're readily available or not, but it probably takes some time to get to you, and then set up and all that sort of thing. So just some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since this is money come from the general fund, which is taxpayers' money, I think we need to talk about when folks need to come back and do a presentation of where you've spent the money.
Yeah,
so
sure. I love doing that.
And
mind
also, have a regular running accounting of the money as it's spent. So if our finance office needs to look at that they'd be able to do that. So I think we need to establish tonight before we do anything is to when we would invite you back to do a presentation of where the money went. So I think that'd be the prudent thing to do, especially since this is taxpayers' money.
Definitely.
So. Stranger.
Yes. How many rooms do you need now?
Right now, can I? How many people are we turning away on a weekly basis? You think for just Maranatha for the women and children? How many hotel rooms would you need right now for the capacity of overflow that we're going through at the women and children site?
For the women and children site, probably 7.
7 rooms for women and children site needed nightly, and at a $100 to $150 nightly rate, sometimes $200 based on the hotel. This is for men at People's Church.
I would say probably 10 a night, maybe.
And 10 a night at the men's site.
And when's Co-Purple over?
And Co-Purple we've done April 1st in Kent County. I think in Sussex County it might be earlier, I'm not sure. And the Newcastle County Co-Purple has not even really been open at all because due to the Hope Center being open, they spent, the city of, they spent $20 million on that building. The Co-Purple leaders in Newcastle are not wanting to really open up a lot because they believe the county and the city with that $20 million building should have solved homelessness by now. So they're not really opening there. So you might hear different stories of the different counties, but in Kent County, we're open December 1st to April 1st, nonstop, unless it's really warm outside. And I tell them all just to come visit you guys here. We're not. I say that we're not. I know we're not closed. My volunteers freak out. We're never closed. Yeah, that's my nightmares, but also my best dreams.
Well, I know the one that by Lowe's, the motel, the one at Dover Inn, the one by the car wash, they're in the neighborhood about $50 to $60.
Yeah, they'll do $50 Super 8.
When you go to take a state voucher or they help, they know it's a Code Purple. Sometimes they'll do a little better too, as long as it's not a weekend that's coming up around race or whatever. But
Super 8, as long as they have capacity, they'll do it good for us. They'll do the $50 rate. Or I'm sorry, not Super 8, Best Western on Route 10, Lebanon Road. Yeah.
Can you come up and use the mic, please?
She said Capital Inn is full.
Capital Inn is full.
This is our vice president, Dr. Garcia. She's also a medical doctor with BB Medical Center.
That is not the case. Capital Inn is completely closed. We have a very small one behind Green Turtle, which is $50. It's always full. The other one that is open is Dover Inn. Dover Inn is $125. And Super 8 is, because I just put a person there, is $85, and you have to put $50 deposit. And hopefully you will get it back. So, and the other ones are more than $100. The only one that is $50 because we are a nonprofit and I have to show my tax ID is the one in Route 10. That's the only one that we have an association with. And that's Best Western.
Okay, so what's your pleasure on this, Commissioner Hall?
Chick-fil-A.
Commissioner Buxton? Commissioner Buxton?
Got a few thoughts or conversations. We have decided that ARPA is not a part of this funding. Cannot be. Not is, cannot be. And Mike and the county administrator said this cannot. COVID, there's no avenue to use it. Right? Mike Pettit-Dimash, ARPA cannot be used at all in any form or fashion to deal with homeless. It's not used in San Francisco, anywhere else for.
Oh, no, ARPA certainly can, be utilized for homelessness.
Time, I think they meant time-wise. Time-wise, it could be.
It's just what we're learning every day with ARPA is extremely complicated with respect to the accountability with the federal government. It's the type of thing we'd probably turn over, if we had a plan, we'd turn it over to our consultant and say, help us chart out what we need to do, because it is really detailed.
We hired a consultant to do just that if we chose to. Let's just say we chose to. We got a consultant, Tetra, whose expertise is supposed to be in that arena. We have a large sum of money that I would suggest would be effective in multiple arenas, including this one. We have a $10 million section that maybe frees us up even more to assist in this. I want to help. I just see that general fund money in a year when we might be needful of it, to utilize it in the general fund. What do I mean by that? We can assist a much smaller allocation, and I say much smaller, something to assist through this season, and then we work to utilize the ARPA funds to assist in the bigger picture. That's what I'd like to see done. That's what I think would be effective, number one, especially since we now know we can utilize that. Listen, saying that I understand that I've talked with the homeless and I've been over to the shelters and all that, utilizing that as a way to say that I know what I'm talking about is like somebody eating hamburgers and think they're a meat farmer. You know what I mean? I have no expertise at your level. But I did spend some time on the streets talking to a few folks just today. And I've done that more than once and just picked their brain. In fact, I think I would welcome the next meeting when you report back, that instead of reporting here, that we report to you, and instead of it being folks that are running the shelters, I'd like to meet with about 20 of them and let them explain their experiences and what they need. Because the problem, I think, what I get, and again, limited, is you're a victim of your success. You're good at what you do. The problem with that is you're good at what you do, which means you attract more folks to the scenario. You said it yourself. You're getting calls from folks across the state and country. My understanding is you're getting state agencies that are dropping people off. You're getting people using the transit system from Wilmington because they're told to come to Dover. It's receptive. You're going to fail. You're going to collapse under your own success if we don't figure out a way out of this. And so I think there's a bigger picture, right? Not to be solved tonight, but to be stated tonight. that I'd like to see us, consider doing. But I won't ramble. I'll say this. I think that we're close, right on an immediate need. I wouldn't want to allocate the funds specific for a bus tonight, or specific for a XYZ. What I would like to do is understand better how we can give an initial allocation of funds that's freed up from a specific target that allows you to utilize those funds to get your immediate needs covered, get us through the season, and build a better plan. That's what I'd like to see happen. Yeah.
I actually like that the best, all right, because I still think there's a role for ARPA funds here for a very comprehensive assistance to multiple homelessness programs in the county. So I saw it as a two-prong approach. There's an absolute immediate need, and I think, it's like that old saying, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Nobody knows how to do this better than the people sitting here tonight. So the fewer strings and fingers that we put in this and overcook it and engineer it, I think it would be best maybe just to go with option C. Issue $60,000 to help offset the operating costs so that they can just get things done. And then because I'm telling you, I reached out to Danny O. He's like, hey, I need a proposal, and 5 minutes later this showed up. And this is
2 days, man.
Oh, 2 days. I exaggerate for effect. But, this is well done, but given more time, and we start looking at targets and we look at what ARPA will allow, I think we could come up with a very good solution before we get into next winter's temperatures. So I agree. So I'm advocating for option C, fully funded, $60,000. That underwrites your...
Yes, and on the proposal that y'all have, it does have typos. I'm sorry. I have sent him one that has no typos. And we've also added that, with the doctors, we'll add blood pressure checks, blood cholesterol checks, blood sugars, and a whole bunch of array of medical services that we can do that's added to the new one that Commissioner Jeff has. I just wanted you to know because I do not like typos. And since I did it so fast, I found some later on. And he'll tell you I emailed him like 4 times. I'm so sorry about typos. But I know you all probably have one. And if any of y'all were teachers, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will commend him because multiple emails did come in correcting grammar. But, I appreciate that level of detail because I know that you probably have 100 things on your plate and it was important to you that you come through. But, so what we have here tonight is the first iteration that came in time for us to get it in the packet. So I'll stop talking. I'm hoping, did you have something else, Commissioner
Actually,
Buxton?
Commissioner Hall was going to suggest that we go with option C for the $60,000, because even if I sat here and did the math at $100 a night, 17 individuals, $1,700 per night times approximately 35 days to get us through April, comes up to $59,000. So to me, $60,000 works fine.
Mr. Buxton?
I was serious about that.
Well, thank you, Eric. Mr. Buxton has been with me on a lot of boards when it comes to fighting addiction. So he's been one of the people, also Teresa, that have helped grow my knowledge when it comes to addiction. Because when I got into this homelessness arena, I always was a volunteer, and I knew a lot about homelessness, and I knew a lot about, I come from a spiritual background. I know a lot about, the devil and how bad, how evil the world can be. But there's nothing like addiction and dealing with that. And so, Mr. Buxton has really been there for us.
Sure. And I want to compliment Commissioner Angel. I mean, you were there at the beginning, and there's no way to get around the fact that you've had your heart in the right place, and we wouldn't be here tonight with the moniker Code Purple without you. So that's, and without question, I want to make sure I state this. I was serious about this. I want to have an engaged meeting with a multitude of individuals that identify as homeless at a table with some decision makers. I found it exceptionally valuable to talk to. I'm sure I could go down to Dover tomorrow and pick out the 6 that I just randomly talked to over the last couple of weeks. It wasn't exhaustive. It was just, hey man, how you doing? What's going on? Tell me how you got here, those kinds of things. There's a disconnect, or maybe there's not. I need a job. Well, I find that hard to believe because I think if I talk to you or others, they'd say, well, there's plenty of opportunities to get a job. Or maybe there isn't, but that's one of the things they said. They identified, clearly there's substance abuse. Clearly there is. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I think one of the things you got to do is cut the head off the snake when folks leave prison. If we agree that you've committed a crime and you're then attached punishment, and then you agree that when you've served your time, you've essentially answered the what you've done, and here's what you're going to have to do about it. We got to do a better job when we release folks. You can't just turn them loose, inject them back into the environment that kind of contributed to them creating and committing the crimes, and then wonder why they're not succeeding. Doesn't make sense to me. So we've got to do that because I think that's one that we can control. You can control the pipeline out of a prison, and I lack the knowledge, back to the environment that they presented in when they were getting into those troubles. And I know this because I had a family member, immediate family member, who lived that experience.
Me too, Mr. Buston. My father was given a 60-year sentence, and he was going to be in prison for 60 years. And he met my mom in prison, and she was working with the governor on Latin affairs because we're Puerto Rican. And he met her in prison in a meeting. They fell in love at first sight. She helped him with parole, and he got out of prison within 6 years. And later on, he struggled. But now, if you ever see A to Z Insurance across from Wells Fargo, and there's 7 of them in Delaware, if you see, right now my father owns that. And then also my mom and my dad are both pastors of a church here in Dover. They're very successful. They own multiple properties. My dad's retiring now with a very successful retirement. And so I am a very big advocate. That's why I do this more than anything. I think as I've grown and matured, I think that subconsciously why I'm passionate about this is because I want to see more people have a story like my father's. I found my lover, I found my spouse, I had success. I helped Delaware get millions of dollars in tax revenue. And that is what I want to see do. And I know how to see it done because I've seen my father grow up and I've seen the struggles he's gone through. And if he can go through it and I can see him go through it, then I know other people can do it. But it took a doctor, my mom, it took God, it took a village. And I think little by little, that's what we will create together. A village that will fight some of these needs, things that we have not even encountered yet or understood. But I agree.
I'll end with this one then. I support the allocation of funds in a somewhat modest approach with the explanation that we can't just have that expect to work. That's the funding you need to allow us to get to some of the better decisions we can make to really make an improvement, to separate those that need a hand up and those that need actual treatment and those that are just being injected back into the environment. But anyway, thank you guys for allowing me to talk.
Commissioner Hall, can you articulate a motion here?
And just please check the 501(c) because I think there's a $50,000 because of the 501(c) we applied for. You may have to change that, and it'll take about 18 months to go through that process. The one we got was a short form. It only took about 7 or 8 months. So just to be sure, so you don't get in trouble and all that. Okay, I just want to give you a heads up.
For the employees.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Al.
Charles?
So, in order to make a motion, I need to know the legal name of the organization so that I can mention that we're going to grant X amount of dollars to this legal organization for the record so that we can act on it after we take a vote. So what's the legal name?
The legal name of the organization is Code Purple, Kent County, Delaware.
Is that a 501c3?
Yeah, 501(c).
Is that a LLC or just?
Oh, no, just incorporated. And it and also it does have a 990. We have over 3 years of tax proof.
So that's Code Purple, Kent County Incorporated?
Code Purple, Delaware, Inc.
Code Purple.
Kent County, Delaware, Inc.
Okay, thanks. And I hate to drag you through that, but I just need to make this a clean motion so we don't have to come back in 2 weeks and do this again.
Thank you all. Pretty passionate about this, but I don't want that to come off like crazy, but thank you all very much.
Okay, here goes. So I move that we grant Code Purple of Kent County, Delaware, $60,000, which would assist for 1 year of rent to host emergency shelter, food pantry, casework offices, emergency rescue space, counseling space, commissary kitchen over 20,000 square feet, storage pole building, community garden space, and the use of vehicles. And I specify that to help with accountability, and that's directly from your proposal. That's my motion.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Any questions on that motion? Mr. Pettermoss?
It would be important to state a source of funding. The source of funding, as we discussed, would be the Emergency Housing Assistance Program funding in the capital budget, FY22 capital budget. FY22? Yes. And, yeah, go ahead.
So I amend that motion to indicate that the source of funding is the Emergency Housing Assistance Program Fund and the FY22 capital budget.
Second.
Mr. Pettermoss.
Just to be clear, that's fine, but with the caveat that if our finance department needs some cleanup on this, they may want a budget adjustment or renaming it in the budget, something like that, because right now, if you look at it technically, it says it's for Delaware State Housing Authority. Okay, so we may need to clean that up in a later action. Thank you.
Any questions? More? Okay, Mr. Tanaka, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
And, as I said, I can't vote for this because it's over 50,000 until I get that information. So I don't want to get you in trouble because based on what I know when I was part of that, I don't want to get you in trouble. So I can't vote for that. I want to help, but I can't give you 60,000 if you can only make 50,000. I don't know what you've done the rest of the year. So that's the reason I can't vote. I'm not voting for that, though. Okay?
So that's not voting? Okay. Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, the IRS has no limitation on how much you can get. However, the more you get, there's more stipulations on how you manage it and report it back to the federal government. So.
Once you make over 50,000, you have to just do accounting with a third-party accountant, and we do that. So that's probably fine. I understand Alan Angel's concern, but that's not a concern. We've been working with Delaware State Housing Authority, State of Delaware.
Sir, let us complete the vote, okay?
Sorry.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 not voting.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, folks.
Thank you all.
Commissioner Angel, Resolution 3915.
All right, thank you. Resolution number 3915, a resolution calling.
We still have a meeting to conclude. Thank you.
Resolution number 3915, a resolution calling public hearing upon a proposal to extend Kent County Sewage Disposal District Number 1, Kitsumic Area, King Cole Properties.
That's motion.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Hall. If there's any questions, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Resolution reveals 3915 has been approved. Have an introduction, Mr. Angel.
Thank you. Introduction of Resolution 3916, a resolution upon proposal of extend Kent County Sewage Disposal District Number 1 pursuant to Section 4606, Chapter 46, Title 9 of the Delaware Code, as amended, Kitsumic Area, King Cole Properties, for public hearing on Tuesday, March 8, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Second.
Just introduction. Thank you. Commissioner Maston, you have the next introduction.
Introduction of Ordinance LC 22-08, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of up to $198,000 general obligation debt for Kent County for costs related to the Paris Villa and London Village sanitary sewer expansion project, and to authorize all necessary actions in connection therewith, for public hearing on Tuesday, March 8, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. We don't have an executive session tonight, do we? Okay, item number 2, Commissioner Angel.
Move to go into executive session immediately following the committee meetings of March 1st, 2022 for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for publicly funded capital improvement, legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation, and personal matters pursuant to 29 Del Code 10004 B2, 4, and 9.
Thank you. Need a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Motion passed. Any information items?
Mr. President? We're not having an executive session tonight, but the caucus room is open. If anyone wants to just go sit in there for a while and reflect, it's available.
I'm sure Commissioner Howell will be willing to do that.
Oh, I'll be there.
Any public comments? Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Angel?
Yes, thank you. Leadership tomorrow at 4 o'clock?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll have my meeting for you all for Washington, D.C., some of the things that I learned before we get to DAC. It was quite exciting. I was there. Let's put it that way. Thank you.
Commissioner Hall?
I'll keep this short. I wanted to check, because I know that we voted tonight to correct and more formally vote for the funds for Chamber of Commerce and the hospitality industry. But then someone came up to me today and said that they were told that all of those funds were going to be withheld until the bigger process through our consultant was put in place. So even though we voted for it, it wouldn't be forthcoming. I just wanted to check on that while I had a chance to get an answer back as soon as possible.
Those applications, although no grants have been awarded or paid out yet, are still being worked on. And I alluded to it earlier, the reporting and compliance aspects of this program are really extensive. And I know it's becoming a concern with some of the people who've applied. We're trying to get the ones that can be released as soon as possible. There were a few forms that the applicants need to fill out that the chamber is sending out. They started sending them out today, which need to be completed by the applicants and returned in. I expect to have our subrecipient agreement from the chamber and tourism tomorrow that's signed by them, and then President Pepper has to sign it on behalf of Levy Court. Those were already approved by you all, but they were subject to final adjustments by the consultant. And so there's been a lot of additional federal apparatus attached to this that because we don't deal extensively in federal grants, we didn't understand. The consultant certainly does, and it's daunting. And I know that myself, Susan Durham, a few other people, we've been at it every day with, trying to get everything, all the checks checked off and all the I's dotted, T's crossed. Mr. Eliason's been involved with some of the reviews, and he can probably attest to the complexity.
Did you say daunting? Yeah, that was pretty much it.
One of the other problems was, too, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. We agreed to do this with the chamber, and we had all good intentions to get that money out there quick. And then we got the final ruling from the Treasury, which was unbelievable. And that was a game changer. And in order to keep us on the up and up, not have to pay back money that we give out either illegally or through our ignorance, then, we had to get the consultant to look at it and just to keep us on the up and up. So, but, it was all good intentions to get that money out there quick. But as the Treasury said, they tied all that red tape to it. So that's where we are. Just trying to be safe, do the right thing.
Okay, I appreciate that because I'm getting questions, and I thought we may all end up getting questions. So just wanted to clear it up tonight.
Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you. All the more reason to trust our consultant. Because as they said when they were here that night, ultimately we're responsible for the funding, not the people who are receiving it. So that's one. Second thing is, we had a long discussion about homelessness tonight, and Emmanuel is doing the best they can to fix a problem that exists in our county. I did food bank distribution last week. More than 1,200 families went through. The problem still exists. So keep in mind what Chad Robinson asked for when they were here too. Thanks.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Buxton.
Just to add joy to the room. Wow. I'll just say it briefly. We won't get into discussion. Continue to advocate for a change, right? I think that in reviewing our current policy as it pertains to vaccination and quarantines, I think that at time and the evidence and the science, if we agree to the science, warrants a revisiting of that, because what you're doing now, at least according to what I've read and what some folks have informed me, is a lack of a vaccination requires a greater use of sick time than somebody that is vaccinated. And that would have made sense if it had to do with the spread of the virus. But I won't get into the detail. I would ask that study the information and then ask yourself if the current policy deserves a revisit. That's all. I didn't say it was wrong in its infancy or its implementation, but as we moved forward. And then the second one is that I've asked for consideration, if I get a little more information, in crediting back some of the sick time used by folks that have been forced to quarantine due to the COVID virus, and using some of the ARPA funds to make the county whole in that aspect. It's sort of a vague proposal, but I'll have a little more details down the road, and it's an empty room, so I can say that. I won't bring it public. I'll hand it over to leadership if it gains their support, obviously. But yeah, so in this world we're in, post-COVID, hopefully, well, you know what I mean, within reason, revisit, that's all. Thanks.
Any other comments? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Hall. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.